All right, you're welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily live on City TV. Remember to send us your messages via WhatsApp 0550585832. If you're watching from outside of Ghana, prefix it with the country code +233. On social media, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily.
That's right.
From yesterday, from Sunday through yesterday till now, we're still counting losses.
We are. Regarding high tidal waves in the Anglo district, Keta, Jita. Yesterday we brought you the first part of our conversation on this, but we're continuing the discussion today because the devastation cannot go ignored, and so we can't stop talking about it. All right, now should we say good morning to our colleagues? Then we'll take a look at some more reports that came from there, from our colleagues who went there yesterday. So a very good morning to Kojo Akoto-Boateng, our colleague here at City FM City TV. Hi, Kojo.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
But you are sounding different.
Good to see you.
I am.
All right. And Fred Duro is also our colleague here, City FM and City TV journalist.
Fred was doing the most yesterday.
We saw you at one point wading through the water just to bring us some information.
But you're looking sharp. That's against yesterday where you had to pull up your jeans and step into the water.
We have to get to the mud and get the work done.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to take you to Fuveme and bring you a report from the devastation yesterday, and then we'll come back in studio and have a conversation about it.
Yes, sir. If you can tell us your name briefly, sir.
My name is Cornelius Ajido.
Yes, so we have seen the impact of the tidal waves here, but how well is it? How is it affecting academic work here today?
Oh, you see, if you can watch, there is no school. There is no classroom for the children to get in. So the children are just stranded. We can't do any academic work today. Not even today. Henceforth, children don't have classrooms to stay in. Yes. But we managed to get the Form 3s a place whereby they can do their revision for next week to start their exams.
But we're told that this is a perennial problem, and that years ago this was even the school was located somewhere else apart from here. What are your expectations going forward, looking at how much of a problem this is to the academic environment in this community generally?
Really, the school, this is the second place. It was relocated to this place about 6 years now. And in actual fact, the children over here, they do perform very well. But because of the distraction of this tidal waves, performance is no longer going on because the thing is coming gradually, and today's one is very, very effective. Yes.
So what would be your plea?
Oh, actually, my appeal is that if you look around, you see that the whole area is affected by the sea. So, in fact, if they can be relocated to another place altogether, I think that will help. Apart from that, they have to defend the sea so that the people and then the school as well are very safe.
Your name? Okay, so this is the the headmaster.
Yes.
He would want a sea defense or a total relocation.
They can do. That's the only thing because there is no other place in the area here where they can build a school, unless they go far away and get a place.
Okay. So that is the headmaster of the Fuveme Basic School here. The impact and the devastation of this tidal wave is one that we can see for ourselves. Only final year students who've had the opportunity to be here in a makeshift arrangement for them to have some schooling going on. But let us get a first-hand feel of the impact of the tidal waves in this area. The Fuveme Basic School serves students in this community. Now I have two final year students here, Theodore and Vivian, and they would actually tell me what the impact of this academic work is on, or what the impact of the tidal waves, how it is affecting them as they prepare for their final examination.
It has destroyed a lot of things. Even it has destroyed our studies, which make us not to study. The examiners who have said the question did not know whether we are in trouble or not, the sea waves destroys everything. Even since last week, we did not study anything. That is what is happening to us.
We don't have any class to study in, so we are pleading that if they could help us for this 1 week, then it will be okay for us, because we'll be going to write our BC the next week. But as we can see now, the sea is affecting our academic work. Our buildings are collapsed. We don't have any place to study.
So that was the Fuveme area. We saw the level of devastation and, of course, the impact on the Fuveme Basic School. It's sad because we are final year students who are supposed to be preparing for their final examination at the junior high level. And this is what they have to contend with. A difficult situation by all standards. We're hoping that indeed the relief items promised will be swift enough, and of course some relief so they can have the peace of mind to study, to be able to write the examination. But there's a wider story, of course, there's a larger story, and that's how come we have Fred and Kujako Tubuate in studio to help us digest the situation as it is. Let's start with Fred, and let's establish the areas which were affected. How widespread was the destruction?
All right, so basically this tidal wave issue is been affecting three districts. I mean, the Anglon district, the Keta municipality, and then the Ketu South municipality, because they are along the coastline of the Volta region, towards the eastern border Togo. So essentially, it normally starts from the Fuveme area. So Fuveme becomes more like a starting point for the Volta region, even though there are other communities beyond Fuveme. And those communities are more into South Tong, which is the Sugakope area, so more like those villages that hinterlands that are a bit closer to the sea. Those ones are somewhere in the South Tong area, but theirs is not that prevalent because normally these people do not have any defense wall to probably protect them from this devastating occurrence of the tides anytime it rises. And as we speak, the Fuveme area, there is this kind of natural creation of estuary by the sea, because the lagoon is just some 50 meters away from the sea. So that particular place looks a bit narrow, where you just see, you can just stand on a small land and you are seeing the lagoon, you are seeing the sea. So even if you take a selfie, you will see, you will capture the lagoon and the sea in the background. So basically that is how it looks like. So this particular one, because of how serious this tide has risen to, it has now created that estuary where the sea is entering into the lagoon. And the moment the sea is also entering into the lagoon is getting, I mean, it's also rising. It's spreading further. So the banks of the lagoon, where you would have thought that you would have some sort of respite in case of all these things, no, you can't go there because that place also doesn't look habitable for these people. So that is the situation around the Fuveme area. Then when you move from Fuveme, so we are taking it all the way from this end, which is the Fuveme area, going down towards the Aflao side. From Fuveme, you go to Jita. So at Jita, that place too has no growing. I mean, the sea defense wall, there's nothing there. So when that is where I took a drone shot and I realized that there is this kind of gully from the sea, and when it hits the shore, you know, that heap of sand that normally heaps at the shore, when it hits it, it now flows at the side, and when it finds its path, it now flows into the community, and that is exactly what is happening. That is where I raise concerns about the fact that this sand winning issue could be a contributing factor to all this. So in the Jita enclave, the issue there affected the community, affected the, I mean, a business that is operating a lodge there, Meet Me There. It's a popularly known lodge in Ghana. Even CNN Travels captured them on one of their documentaries because of how they are climate action compliant. And that is how the situation affected them there.
Right.
Let me probably revert to Fuveme, where they look, let me compare it to a football park. So when you put two football park or a football park and a half together, but it's not in that rectangular shape of a football park, but it looks a bit shaped in a way that you would, so that is how the whole situation. So the community entirely is, I mean, affected. Then the school again is affected. So there is nowhere to go for those in Fuveme as we speak. There is no, you could see, I mean, the remnants where someone's valise, I mean, those bags, you will see is, I mean, is buried in the sand. Coconut trees are buried to a half. Buildings are buried to, I mean, a half, and that is how dire the situation is. I was there 4 months ago with a colleague journalist to do some reporting, and in this area, that particular school we are talking about today was a complete school. So if 4 months ago,
4 months ago it was complete, what we just
it was
saw,
complete.
with all of that erosion.
And if 4 months, about 4 months later, this is the state. And even the community where there is a giant tree in the middle of the community, that tree as we speak today has fallen.
Wow.
Because of these issues. Okay, so the whole issue is quite dire, and those people there are in serious need for some kind of help. Basically about the Fuveme side, then the Jita, where I mentioned the fact that Meet Me There is in trouble, is in serious trouble as we speak. They have to refund monies to their guests. If you know that particular lodge very well, it's owned by a white person, and it's always full. Weekdays,
popular tourist spot.
Weekdays to weekend, it is always full. If you would want to book accommodation and Meet Me There, you should be doing that some 5 months ahead. Yes.
Wow.
And even that one you may not get.
And that whole business is being affected by this situation.
That business is affected as we speak. The whole place is flooded. It's only the hilly part that is closer to the road that is a bit safe as we speak. And even that place is more like a learning center for the community. It's an NGO that built that place, basically to help the community. So what they do is, whatever profit they gain from their operations, they replow it back into the community. By building toilets for the community in order to probably eradicate this kind of open defecation and stuff like that. So it's a social enterprise basically, and that is what they do over there. And when you look at their operations, I mean, it's a classic example of what a climate action compliant or business should be, and that is what they do. You don't use plastic there. When you go there, the first thing is they hand you a bottle, which you will refill until you leave there. So you don't go there with plastic.
Right. Okay. Now, talk to us about places like Anyanui and then Salakope.
Good. So now when you move, Anyanui basically is more like the larger community where you have the Jita as a suburb and then that of Fuveme all surrounding. Fuveme, ordinarily, you would have used a boat on the lagoon to Fuveme. But if you have a four-wheel drive car, like we used yesterday, that one you'll be able to maneuver through the sand and get to that place. So Anyanui basically is more like anchoring those two communities. So that may be the only place where, even if there will be any evacuation, that is where they would have to move those people to. And that is the situation around Jita, Fuveme, surrounding Anyanui.
Okay, well, you mentioned Meet Me There.
Yes.
Let's take a look at Meet Me There.
Right, so tell us your name and then the situation you are facing over here right now.
So my name is Dominic Bride. I've been working here at Meet Me There for about 3 years now. And what's happened is the sea has come over into the lagoon and filled up the lagoon to the point where it started to flood some of our rooms. We had to evacuate the guests in this room and the room next door as well at about 5 a.m. Thankfully, our security guard was on hand to get get that going so that there wasn't any damage to anyone's possessions. And then the water has continued to rise. It's flooded the 2 rooms. It's also flooded the main part of our restaurant, and has caused us to have to close down the lodge for this week, which has obviously impacted our income quite severely. And as you can see, the repairs that will need to be done as well, it's not going to be cheap. So we're pretty devastated, but we're also thankful that no one was hurt, and it could have been a lot worse.
This particular place was built in less than 8 months ago, because I'm privy to this particular facility when it started. But tell us, how much in costs are you losing in terms of putting up this place and then the water taking over now?
In terms of cost, well, the room is 400 cedis per night, but then also there's obviously food, there's drink, there's activities. We have a lot of activities that support local businesses as well, not just us. So it's not just us that are impacted by this. In terms of quoting how much to repair, I can't say off the top of my head. I don't know. I think it depends on the electrics as well. Quite a lot of the cables are buried, so we need to investigate what the damage is there. And then obviously we've had to close the lodge. So we have 9 rooms here. We're normally fully booked all the time, and we're fully booked for pretty much up until the end of the year as well. So reorganising people who have come to stay who have already paid is a logistical nightmare. But we're managing, and we will work it out somehow.
So how are you going to probably reschedule those who had already booked this beautiful facility?
Well, we've spoken to them all. We spoke to them all on the phone yesterday. They were obviously all very understanding, which is incredibly nice of them. There's only so much that we can do in a situation like this. It's slightly unprecedented, so we can't control the water here, unfortunately. It's the big attraction here, but it's also as we can see, the sea can cause problems occasionally.
So should this situation, extend further to where you are, do you hope to relocate Meet Me There, which is popularly known in the whole of Ghana and, if I may say, in the world?
Yeah. Difficult question. I think a question that my superiors would probably not want to answer, because, as I said, it's a difficult question. Meet Me There is a unique part in a unique place because of the location, because of the community and the people that live around us, who are very close with us. So relocating would be a very difficult thing to do. It'd be difficult to replicate, and also come at severe financial cost as well. It's taken nearly 20 years to build this place up to this point, and to gain the following that it has. And we're obviously very thankful to the support that we receive from our guests and customers, because they enable us to keep operating.
All right. Wow. So, Fred, you were at Meet Me There, bringing us some visuals of what has happened to them because of all of this. Let me come to you. Okay. Let's talk about solutions, or potential solutions for this. The big one everyone keeps asking about is the continuation of the Sea Defence Project into the areas that are seeing this devastation now. The big question is all about cost. Yeah. Whether or not it's a cost-effective way to solve this problem, whether or not we can afford as a country to invest in this cost-intensive project to protect the coastline of these areas, or whether or not the people should be evacuated and leave nature to do what nature is doing. Do you think it's feasible enough, considering, multi-million-dollar investment that may not necessarily yield multi-million-dollar returns, to construct the sea defense wall, or to extend the project to protect the coastline in these areas?
Well, to do the analysis of the investment, you would have to also think about the assets that we are protecting, right? You have land, which is an asset to be protected. You have some vegetation. You have cultural artifacts to be protected. You have people's memories to be protected. For example, all the cemeteries that are being washed away into the sea, they are people's memories, they are legacies, cultural heritage. So it's a scientific approach must be taken in dealing with this particular issue. And I think that we've had enough researchers working on coastal erosion, working on tidal waves, and what we failed to do over the years is to listen to them. For example, Prof. Apienin Ado, who is currently the director for the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies, in 2008, he wrote a paper on the analysis of the coastal erosion trends in the country. And for Greater Accra, back then, the scientific prediction was that 80% of the coastline was in danger of being eroded. Now, cast your mind back to 2008 to today. We've had to build sea defense shields at Glefe and other areas, Sakumono sea defense shield, other areas. Axim.
Even stretching up here to Axim,
yes,
Western region.
Axim, we spent millions of dollars building sea defense shields. We started in Blekuso, it ended, it didn't extend to the Aflao area, and the people are suffering. On average, it's estimated that we lose a meter of our coastline a year to coastal erosion. But it's also estimated that by 2100, I don't know how to say that.
Is it 2100, 2100? Yeah. 2100, the year 2100.
About 100 meters of the coastline of Accra will be washed away. So go and stand at Art Center and measure 100 meters in.
There which we there inside do.
No, 100 meters here.
Okay.
So it's a big problem. The story we reported yesterday, we are reporting today, has been reported consistently over the years. There are alternatives to the sea defense shield. For example, planting of mangroves.
Would that be significant enough to prevent
when
this?
God created the planet, he knew all the forces at play, and he put mangroves in strategic places to protect.
So we have a diagram on the screen now.
Yes.
If you can just
so
tell us
let
exactly
me
what
take
we're
you through
looking
this
at.
diagram.
Yes.
This is coastal erosion hotspots in the country. If you start from the east, from Togo, so Keta, and you see the circle, some are big, some are small. The bigger the circle, the higher the severity of the erosion.
Right.
Now look at the circle of Keta, it's very big. Takes you to Jita and Ada and brings you to Old Ningo and Pram Pram.
Right.
These are areas I go to on a regular because Ada, I go to Ada like 5 or 6 times in a year. And the last time I was in Ada, somebody pointed at a place in the sea to me and said that was where they used to go to school when they were younger, my friend's mother.
Wow.
That's like 300 meters out in the sea.
Wow.
So that's how bad it is. Now, if you get closer into the Tema area, you see Tema, it's a lower risk, Nungwate, Shi, Labadi. Then you get to Botiano, the risk is increasing. Kokrobite, Senya, Breku. Remember from Glefe all the way you are going to the Botiano area. Then you get to Tantuan, which is getting into the central region. Elmina, Komenda, Shama. All those places have a high risk. In fact, Frederick Ekojona and his team from the University of Cape Coast did research in the Cape Coast area.
Right.
And they realized that per the data they were collecting, about 14,000 tipper trucks full, that's the 20 cubic, full of sand was being illegally winned from the beaches every year.
Wow.
14,000 tipper trucks full of sand illegally winned from the beaches every year. This is denying fishermen their landing ports, it's denying fishes the spawning areas, and it's affecting our fisheries, it's affecting economic activity, and now it's eating away our homes. If you come all the way to Axim, if you look at the chart, if you come all the way to Axim, realize that the problem is becoming bigger. So it's up to the country to decide that, look, this is a problem. Now, statistically, about 1 million people are going to be hit by 2015 by coastal erosion. About 1 million people are going to lose their homes and livelihoods because of coastal erosion. So the question is, will the investment make sense? It's a country of 3 million. If 1 million people are at risk, we need to invest. We need to invest in engineering, we need to invest in natural mitigation measures, and we need to invest in public education as well. There is not a single coastal region or coastal community in this country where you don't see people actively winning sand for all sorts of things, for construction, for this. And if you look around us, we have construction going on all over. Where do you think the sand is coming from? A lot is coming in the coastal areas, a lot is coming from the beaches. And then people are also clearing forest areas and people's farms and winning sand. So a ministry like the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry at this point should be asking themselves, it's a wicked problem because we're expanding infrastructure. We need the sand. What is a sustainable way of getting sand for construction in the country? That's a question we should ask.
Okay, pause there. We'll take a quick break.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll check out what the minister said, the Minister for Works and Housing, Francis Asibwachi, on what the government is prepared to do about this. And then we'll look at what's happening in other areas of the world where they're also suffering from coastal erosion, and whether or not they're investing heavily in protecting the coastline, or they're saying, let nature take its course. Okay, you're watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. Remember, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily, of course, and the WhatsApp number is 0550585832. We want to hear from you. If you've lived or you are from any of the areas, the affected areas, let us know what your thoughts are and what suggestions or solutions you have to ameliorate the challenge as it is, and of course to find lasting solutions to it. Before the break, we had Kojo Akuto telling us what we should be prioritizing, putting in the sea defense, allowing nature to take its course, so then we focus on resettlement of the people there, or what exactly we should be doing to find some solutions to what has become a perennial problem when it comes to rising tides in the Volta area. So Kojo, if you can quickly
So I think that as a matter of urgency, we need to do something to protect the assets of the country, the land in the Volta area and along our coastline. In fact, like the chart showed, all along our coastline, we have areas where the risk is very high. There are only a few areas where the risk is moderate. So we need to invest in mitigation factors now, and we need to use the science in making decisions. We've seen sea defense shields being built all around, but once you build a sea defense shield, what next? You need to also put in place natural strategies, natural means of consolidating whatever you've done. And then I think public education is very important, and regulation and enforcement, because look, we have to build, yes, the same way we cut trees and we are regulating cutting trees, we are regulating mining of gold and everything. We should regulate the mining of and sand winning. We need to have a national strategy for sand winning and stone mining. The reason is that in the next 15-20 years, in the global space, water, which is the most used natural resource, concrete is the second most used material in the whole world, and concrete is sandstone water. And as we develop, as urbanization takes center stage, as we invest in more infrastructure, we'll be using a lot more of these. How do we extract those materials in this country? And this coastal erosion is bringing this conversation because it's important. If you go to the forested areas, people are clearing forests to win sand for construction. If you go to the coastal areas, people are winning sand at the beaches. So what's our national strategy, and who is minding that particular industry? Because it's one of the drivers of whatever we are seeing. It's one of the drivers. And the people along the coast must know that the beaches and the land support their livelihoods. If they don't protect it on their own, it will be very, very difficult to support their own livelihoods. Because look, this thing has happened, and everybody expects NADMO to move in. Everybody expects the government to move in. But if over the years, people had been more mindful of the destruction ongoing, maybe it wouldn't have been this bad. In March 1987, there was a story from the Keta area about sea erosion. You can actually go all the way back to the 1950s, 1960s of some occurrences of these things. So we've known that these things can occur.
Screenshots of the article.
The tide at dawn, the south story of Keta. Right. Now, it's becoming increasingly worrying because of climate change and the rise in sea levels. So if 50 years ago they were happening every now and again, this time it's going to be a normal occurrence. So are we as a people going to sit down for indisciplined people, for greedy people, to put our lives at risk by stealing all the sand from our beaches, by stealing all the rocks from our beaches? That's something people must fight, people along the coastal areas. The same way people in the forested areas, you go to Insawam, Amasaman, Adeso, Asaman Kese, and you enter the bushes and you'll be heartbroken how bulldozers and excavators are being used to steal sand from people's farmlands. So we must really pay attention to that. Okay. And the government, we have the SDGs, we are signatory to the SDGs. We need to see better action in helping us meet our SDG goals. No poverty, no hunger, sustainable use of natural resources. We need to see some proper investment in that particular area. Because look, Kokwe and Fred and Tufo, what's going to happen is that when the coastal areas are depleted, the people move in. Yeah. And a lot of these people, what they know is fishing.
Yeah.
That's what they are used to. When they move inwards, what is here for them to do? Mind you, people from the north are also moving downwards. Yes. So the middle sector is going to be choked. And there will be a lot more pressures on Accra, Kumasi, Sunyani, Koforidua, and all these towns to contain the population. And these cities are not the least ready to contain whatever is happening. So we really need to pay attention to coastal erosion. We need to pay attention to climate change as a country. And we need to invest a lot more in protecting our environment. The regular rhetoric that we are doing ABCD, DFCH, we need to see a lot more work being put into the same energy. And I always sit at politicians because when I see the energy they use in campaigning and the energy with which they use to do the work afterwards, it actually drives me mad. So the same energy we use in campaigning and getting votes, we should use the same energy to protect the environment. We should use the same energy to enforce the laws. We should use the same energy to educate people. If sure could be something that every Ghanaian knows. If J. Mbeba could be on every Ghanaian lip, then we should also have environmental protection on every Ghanaian mind and every Ghanaian lip. We should invest appropriately. Because the moment we lose the natural ecosystem, we lose ourselves. And it will be a very big problem for all of us.
Let's hear what the Minister for Works and Housing is saying on this. So this is in the Ghanaian Times today. Francis Asensu-Boakye has called for a stop to sand winning and other activities that exposes residents of coastal communities in the Ketu South municipality to the harsh tidal waves resulting in displacement and destruction of property. Now, he cited uprooting of mangrove along the coastal stretch as one of the activities. He explained that it was imperative the residents practice safety measures as government takes steps to commence work on the 8-kilometer sea defense project designed to protect the coast of Adna, Agaveji, Salakope and Amuchinu communities who were over the weekend displaced by the tidal waves. He said investments by government cannot yield the needed protection if people continue to engage in such practices. Now, he reiterated government's commitment to urgently commence works on the sea defense project, expected to be the second phase of the Blekusu Coastal Protection Project. He says the ministry has finalized the evaluation of the relevant proposal to start the works. They're currently engaging the Ministry of Finance to raise the funding to implement the second phase. So money is still a question. But he said the scope of works will entail the construction of 37 armor rock groins with land reclamation to protect the 8 kilometers of coastal stretch. He says when the project is completed, it will protect the beaches, it will also protect them from encroachment by the sea, and it will address current environmental deterioration, mitigate the social and economic consequences of beach erosion, and strengthen the economic and production base of the area. Now, it goes on to give you a bit of history on how in July 2015, company that was contracted to construct the first phase of the coastal protection project, that was 4.3 kilometers, was part of measures to curb the devastating incidents of the affected communities. So this is what the minister is saying that they're planning to do. But as we said, the funding for it is the next phase. Maybe in the budget that's going to be read in a few days. Let's see if we hear anything about that. But he hits on some of the things you were talking about, uprooting of mangroves, people's attitude to protecting the coastline. So even with that investment, like he said, if there's not an attitudinal change, cost 90, it's like you're investing hundreds of millions of cedis into something that you could still destroy.
You're basically throwing that money away.
You could be.
And I think it's something we need to work on. So he mentioned 2015 and what happened and the cost. As of 2015, it was estimated that the annual cost of coastal degradation was $47 million a year in the country. Now it's projected to reach $957 million by 2050.
You don't
we are
say.
in 20. We are in
21.
21. So in 30 years, annual cost of coastal degradation will be $957 million, almost $1 billion. Currently, our GDP is how much? Like $40 billion or something like that, if I'm right. So it's a lot of, look, the generally environmental related cost on the state. For example, air pollution, $2.5 billion. If you do the loss of lives, loss of quality of life and everything, about $2.5 billion lost to the states. About 8,000 people dying every year from household air pollution. And I don't think that as a country we pay attention to some of these things. And these are the basic things that contribute to our health, our quality of life, our survival as a country. So Ministry of Works and Housing at this particular point, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Environment should probably be assembling the Prof. Gordings, the Irenyatirias, the Nupezes, and the Apeniados. Because these people for the past 20 years, all they've been doing, they've dedicated their lives to the science and found solutions. Let's invest in the solutions. It's the same for almost all the other sectors. If we don't invest in these solutions now, we'll be going a borrowing tomorrow to come and build a sea defense shield when we could have prevented some of these things. And it's clear that over the years, the leadership of this country has not paid attention to this, and we must now demand that they pay attention to that. Because you'll be eating fish imported from other countries. You'll be eating anchovies and all these things imported from other countries, and the fisheries sector is big. I've not even spoken about tourism. I went to Axim Beach Resort recently, and if you move from Axim Beach Resort, 10 meters from Axim Beach Resort, the sea is just eroding everything, and we had to build a sea defense shield. Now, meet me there. Very soon, in fact, places in Ada, which used to exist 20, 30 years ago, have been lost. If you are driving from Jita, Anyanui to Keta, on that particular stretch, there are a lot of beautiful places. And the Volta region actually holds a lot of the tourism potential of the country that can turn our fortunes around. So we'll be losing all these things because of the inaction of our leaders. And it's not that we don't have the knowledge base existing in the country. It is free. The knowledge base is there. Solutions are there. People have committed years of their lives to research. These are the things that must drive national conversations.
Well, we're in COP26.
Exactly, Well,
lots
they're
of
in
people
droves, and
in droves.
well, we're not hearing anything on this. So it's quite unfortunate that this is happening. But as of the timing, we expect leadership to really take some steps. I mean, put in some action. I start to be corrected, but I'm not sure we have an ENRM policy, an environmental and natural resource management policy.
Well, we do have that. We have a climate change. We have a climate change policy. In 2010, we launched the National Environment and Sanitation Action Plan. In fact, when it comes to environmental policies, I've not looked at other countries, but I think Ghana has the most in West Africa.
Wow.
Policies.
I've not looked at other countries.
Exactly. On paper.
Environmental policies.
That's where they stay.
Environmental policies, action plans, this, that. I've not looked at other countries, but based on the number of policies and documents I've seen in my personal almanac, I want to assume Ghana has the most in West Africa.
Yes, that's what they are. Policies.
Yes.
They stay on paper. And then
because look, when we're working on the legislation for spatial planning, we had to put together 302 different policies and legislations to make the current legislation on spatial planning. And all these are also part of the environmental policy bouquet that we are talking about.
So the filler is there.
So for me, I think we do have the policies, we have the action plans. Look, there was a national environment policy of sorts which was developed in 1980, I think 86. I saw that when I visited one of my lecturers. And if you look at the new ones, is the old one we've updated. There is an Accra Town Plan of 1954. There was an updated one in the 60s. Look, for policies there we do have them. For plans we do have them. But the implementation,
that's where the problem
we
is.
do not have them. And I think that the media also has a role to play. This is a time for the media to invest time and energy in understanding these things and the trends, and in making them a part of our conversations every day.
Right.
So that we don't allow leadership, politicians and political commentators to waste the time of the citizenry chasing unnecessary things. Because the more time we waste on the unnecessary things, the hungrier we become. The hungrier we become. The more time we waste on the unnecessary things, the further apart the advanced world is moving away from us.
Okay, could you hold that thought? We've got Dr. Philip Kwashiga on the line, who's going to join our conversation. Good morning, Dr. Kwashiga.
Good morning.
Welcome to Breakfast Daily. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so hopefully you've been following our discussion, but we're basically discussing what's happening in parts of the Volta region along the coastline, where many coastal communities are suffering from the devastating effects of high tidal waves and coastal erosion. Now, talking to Kojo and Fred, Fred was on the ground, actually brought us live images of what was happening there. We just want to find out what the realistic solutions or possible solutions are in the short term, medium term, and long term to curb this phenomenon of coastal erosion.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So when it comes to the flooding, it is something being driven by climate change, the frequency. So for the long term, unless there's a reversal in our contribution to climate change, we are going to see more of this. So in the short term, there are things we can do. We can decide to move people to higher ground and then replan the area properly. And we can also go to engineering aspect, build seawalls and all that. But this have to be properly engineered based on research, based on proper long-term data collection. Okay. So those are some of the things that we can put with. On the other side, we have places that people have built resilience to this thing. And so if we have early warning systems in place, you know that it's going to happen. So you can temporarily relocate yourself and once it's over, you come back. So these are some of the things that I can be looking at.
Doc, okay, let's take a look at what's happening in some other parts of the world. All right. So, Doc, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so for instance, in the U.S., Miami has been drowning. Louisiana is shrinking. North Carolina, their beaches are disappearing. In California, people joke that California is diving into the sea or falling into the sea. And yes, they do attribute this to climate change. But in a country like the United States that has a war chest of resources, that has all of the science, all of the data, that preaches about climate change, in large part, even though there have been some efforts with regard to sea defense walls, etc., in large part, it's almost as if they're saying, this is nature, there's very little we can do to stop it, so the investment in curbing it isn't going to be that huge. Do you think that's the end of it? We're fighting against something that's inevitable, and so, is it really practical for us to look at spending hundreds of millions of dollars into building infrastructure that could protect the coastline, or you think we're fighting a losing battle against nature?
Yes, so like I said, we can say that it's a losing battle because this is something that we have brought on ourselves. Like I said, if we are able to reverse climate change, then we will not see this high frequency of this thing happening. So, yes, as it is now, if nothing is done about climate change, then we are fighting the losing battle. And that is where it is difficult calling for investment into high engineering and all that. Because even that, if it is not well designed, maybe it may just take 20, 30 years to are back to the same place. Yeah. So for me, if there's a possibility of relocating to higher ground, because if you look at especially the Volta Delta, it's a low-lying area. Most of the areas are low-lying. So a little rise in the sea level to see these things happen. And if nothing is done within the next maybe 50 or so years, that area may be underwater. So at best, what it will be to relocate to higher grounds.
All right.
Which I know is also intensive and difficult, but should we wait till people, properties are destroyed, lives are lost before we move?
But look, listening to you, I get the sense that all hope is lost. I don't want to ascribe to that. Should we throw our hands in the air and give up? Or should we be looking at some natural remedies aside from the engineering? Is research not telling us any natural solutions to some of these problems?
Well, there are other places that if they have developed resilience, like I said, if it is flooding, people are able to build buildings that can withstand some of this. But if you look at what is happening now, I don't think we can, even if you come to the natural, we can say, okay, we'll plant vegetation. There are places that they are using mangroves or that to counter this. But if you look at our area, if we plant mangroves, we plant vegetations and all that, yes, it will reduce the impact. But for the flooding, we will still show the flooding, but maybe the force to destroy buildings and all that will be reduced. Okay. Elsewhere, they are maybe building sandbanks, they pump sand into the sea, so the sea is able to use that to redistribute. But with time also, you have to keep on refilling. And these are all cost intensive. And looking at where we are, I don't think it's something that we are ready for. So I'll say, it's better we move back and let we have it.
All right. Thank you very much. We're grateful for that, being able to join in and, of course, share his thoughts and his experience with us.
Thank you, Dr. Kwasiga.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Grateful. All right. We're going to go back to the Minister for Works and Housing, Francis Asensio-Boakye. We're going to listen to his response to the issues so far, and then we can have a conversation on what he has said about the devastation along the coastline in the Volta region.
In July 2015, the Ministry of Works and Housing engaged Measures Amandi Holding Limited to design and construct coastal protection works along this stretch, starting from Blekuso and working towards Agavaji, Selakope, and Amichunu under the Blekuso Coastal Protection Project. The project, which protects 4.3 kilometers of coastal stretch, had the first phase completed in July 2019 and has since functioned effectively, protecting lives, livelihoods, properties, whilst reviving fishing activities. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Works and Housing knows the sense of urgency for undertaking the second phase of the project to protect Adina, Agavaji, Selakope, and Amichuni communities and others to the east of Blekuso. To this end, the ministry has commenced urgent steps to implement the second phase of the project. The ministry has finalized the evaluation of the relevant proposals to start works under the second phase of the project. It is important to note that in April 2021, a technical team from the Hydrological Services Department of the Ministry, upon my directive, traveled to the affected communities to engage the municipal chief executive and some community leaders on the matter of the implementation of the second phase. I also had the opportunity to lead a technical team to visit those communities to have a first-hand understanding of the matter and the situation on ground. It is envisaged that the completion of the works envisaged under the second phase of the project will cover a minimum coastal stretch of 8,000 meters, that is 8 kilometers. And this will surely ensure the total protection of the people of Agavaji, Salakope, Amuchuni, Adina communities and other affected communities within the constituency that continue to bear the brunt of this.
All right.
All right. So, Minister for Works and Housing, Francis Asenso-Boakye, is there. Could you briefly respond to his response?
well, you heard Philip, Doc. He's actually one of my lecturers.
I know.
Yes, he's actually one of my lecturers, and he's done a lot of work with Professor Pieniado on this. What the minister is saying initially, let's put a sea defense shield there. Yes, let's do that. But in the long term, we need to have a plan. And like I said, these lecturers, these scientists, they have the solutions. Let's sit with them and let's find, look, there have been instances where other people have used natural and engineering strategies, combine them to solve the problem. And let's attach a sense of urgency to the problem. I don't think we've attached that to our environmental problems.
Fred, very quickly.
Just a quick one. I would love to say that there should be some land reclamation from the lagoon, okay, because the lagoon equally have a chunk of land where they can reclaim for farming activities, and they should build some kind of high-rise buildings by the roadside, I mean, on each side of the road, where, because if you are a nurse, you are a teacher, or you are a government worker posted to Keta-Aflao right now, getting accommodation is a problem because of these issues. And people are now moving all the way to Agbozume and Co, if you have a car, to stay there and drive all the way to Keta for work. And that is quite serious. So there should be some proper planning put in place by the assemblies themselves and the central government. They should go all out and salvage this situation. Else, in few years to come, like the school we saw, that is the second relocation.
Wow.
Okay, the first one is already in the sea.
Wow.
Okay, so that is how serious the situation is. We may not take it serious today, but even if you relocate them to higher grounds and you are not putting in measures, the sea is still catching up. And that is the situation we're talking about.
Thank you very much, Fred Duho. He is our man on this issue. He was there. You saw him live, walking in the water and bringing you live updates from the Keta area.
He was there with Duke as well, Duke
Mensah-Opoku. Yes.
Duke didn't get in the water, but he was there.
Later
he did. Oh, later he did.
Later he did.
You want Duke to drown?
Thank you so much for joining us, both of you.
Thank you guys so much. This is still Breakfast Daily. Stay with us. We have the health segment and of course some entertainment segment coming up after this break.